Because if they're seeing the value, then we need to take heed. Like a lot of people say, a lot of people like in DC, they say, don't go to Baltimore, don't go to Baltimore. Baltimore looks like a war zone in some areas. And I'm like, whoa, I see opportunity. And like, they're like, no, ain't no money in Baltimore. It's long-term money. Do you know you cannot get a house in DC nearly for under $1 million, and DC is Baltimore 20 years ago? Same thing people were saying about Washington, DC. So in Baltimore, they have all these row houses. And now there, you can't just buy a house. You got to buy the block. You got to buy the neighborhood because it's a lot. It's a lot of blighted property. And this was all, part of the urban decay. This is all by design. But now corporations are coming in and they're buying up the properties. And their idea is to make us permanent renters. I was talking to a celebrity a couple of years ago, and he was like, he's from Houston, and he was like, yeah, he said, we don't like gentrification, so we buying up the houses ourselves. And I'm like, okay, dope. What are you doing with the houses once you buy? And he's like, we rent them out. Okay, so how are you promoting wealth building to the Black people? Because it's okay, you're not letting white people in, but you are, which is, you can't not let certain people in, right? But how are you empowering the community? So it's not just one step of, oh, us as Black people, we need to own it, and we need to put Black people in it. So one of my goals for Baltimore, I'm gonna tell you, is to not only purchase the property, but create paths to home ownership, create wealth building opportunities, teach the people credit, teach them how to become homeowners, so then eventually they could purchase the properties. That's the goal. So I don't want to just keep a neighborhood Black for the sake of it being Black. What does that do? No, the idea is to create wealth. Okay. So these neighborhoods, these areas, these are gold mines because these investors, these corporations are flocking to the hood. It means that they value the long-term upside. Like I said, when you look at Baltimore compared to DC, DC didn't happen overnight. Of course, DC, you have the government, but Baltimore, even like Baltimore, I mean, that's just one example, because you have areas like Detroit, you have Cleveland, you have Birmingham, Alabama, you have St. Louis, you have Richmond, Virginia, you got Chicago, Houston, Atlanta, Philly. You have all of those areas too. But in Baltimore, like I was saying, you have a harbor, there's great food. It's just tons of opportunity. In fact, the guy that's trying to steal my house, he bought Kevin Spacey's house, which was on the harbor, and Kevin Spacey had bought it for $5 million. So there is value in places like that. And you got to just know the areas. So how do you purchase these properties in these areas? There's several different ways. So land banks. I don't know if you know, but what a land bank is it's when a property is owned by that local municipality. You can purchase a home from a land bank for pennies on the dollar. Sometimes $500, sometimes $2,000, sometimes $5,000, sometimes $30,000. So you got to go to see where the land banks are. Now, there are people that are teaching this and they're making a lot of money from it. And you don't need to take a class to learn how to buy a property from a land bank. But what you do need is you need to know what their rules are once you purchase it. Because what I used to see back in the day when people were buying property in Detroit, they didn't know what the hell they were doing. So they were just buying, right? They were buying these $500 properties and then they were just keeping them. And then there were all these violations and then they had to cure them and they ended up having these big bills. Well, you gotta know that if you're gonna buy these properties, there may be violations, there may be permit, there might be issues with it. So you have to know what it is that you're doing when you buy it.